Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Gilbert City Council meeting of March 11th, 2025. Call the meeting to order at 6:27. Regular meeting. Have roll call, please, clerk.
Councilor Bertocci.
Present.
Councilor Horn.
Here.
Mayor Oberstar.
Here.
Councilor Skrillex.
Here.
Councilor Fahnen.
Here. We have a quorum, we can have a meeting. Okay, could everybody rise and help me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mike, do we have any additions to the agenda tonight?
We have several.
All right, name them off, please.
I would like to add Resolution 2025-06. There's a donation to the library. We need to get that in the thing. I'd like to add Resolution 2025-07. It's another donation to the library. I created a resolution which I handed out to each one of you before the meeting. There's a cemetery person who would like to be appointed, Anton Udovich. I added that item to the meeting, and then our final one here would be the resignation of Robert Kibela from the cemetery board. I understand that somehow that didn't get put in front of council previously, and we would like to add that too. So those are the additions.
Is that different from the Robert Nanty on the cemetery board?
Yep. Yes.
Just make sure.
Suggestion, can we consider the resignation before the,
I need a resignation, otherwise there is no vacancy on that board.
okay, so then the resignation would be F.
I was thinking of removing him off for 2 years absence, but he resigned 2 years ago and they never
Right.
took care of it, so, okay? All right, so that would be to do the formal things the right way. Accept the resignation and,
What, apparently that didn't happen for a couple of years, so we'll take care of it tonight.
all right, we've heard the additions. Council okay with the additions? Make a motion to approve.
I'll motion.
A second.
Moved by Councilor Skirvik, supported by Councilor Horn to approve the additions to the agenda that were read off by Clerk Skirvik. Any more discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, consent agenda to be approved.
I have an edit.
Yes.
From the minutes of February 25th, under the section under Councilor Ponton's report, the last sentence should be that Clerk Skirbich, not Clerk Skirbeck. Let's please correct the name.
That's a typo in there, right?
Yep.
And also, there's a typo at the bottom of that page. When I appoint myself to the RRCC board, not ROCC, Range Recreation Community.
what?
RRCC.
RRCC. Thought that was wrong.
Anybody else got anything? Corrections, deletions, or additions? We have the no cemetery board minutes in the packet. And they're in the consent agenda. I see the water and light board minutes in the packet. So, and they're not on the consent agenda. So, how is that? So we scratch off the cemetery board minutes, because I don't see them in the agenda on the packet. No, delete them off. We don't have to act on the water and light board minutes because they're not on the consent agenda, but they're in the packet. Both should be put back in the consent agenda at the next meeting. Okay?
We've got the material that's been
Oh, we
presented. Can we just
could've-
put it in there?
We could have added it to the agenda.
I mean, can we, what I'm saying is, can we just add the water and light minutes? Say that now, strike that, because we've gotten it presented in both packets, so we should be able to.
Well, you want to switch the wording of cemetery board minutes to water and light board minutes,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
That's okay with me. With the council? Okay with that?
Yep.
Mayor, if I could, perhaps we could remove both items from the consent agenda, and then to approve the water and light board minutes, we could do it by separate motion after, because technically it wasn't a part of the,
Even though it wasn't added to the agenda?
for the simple purpose of approving some minutes, so long as there's nothing controversial.
Or I said we can put both of these minutes in the packet for the next meeting.
Whatever is the most correct.
I think just, we'll add them to the next meeting, both minutes, okay? Cemetery board minutes and the water and light board minutes on the consent agenda at the next regular meeting, okay? Just to be okay with that? All right. Otherwise, any other corrections on the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda with the changes noted.
I second.
Moved by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Horn to approve the consent agenda with the corrections. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. All right, public input. Anybody in the audience tonight have anything they wish to discuss to the council? Please step to the podium and state your name.
Yeah, my name is Leonard Kachiver.
Is the red light on there?
The green light is on.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Put the mic closer, yeah, okay.
Is that with a C or CH?
Kochevar.
Thank you.
Okay, so, hi. I'm here because of last year's storm. I'm still on it, right? Last year, we got all that rain. And I was wondering what the city would do proactively this year in case we do have another storm like the last year where everybody got flooded on my side of the town. So what is the city up to? What is the city going to do differently? Last year, we were caught unawares of a torrential downpour, but what about this year? Is anything being done? Anything being addressed to make it work better?
I'll pass that over to.
Sam will talk to you about things we're working on with SCH with our stormwater.
Yeah, we got a couple grants out there right now. One, we're applying for a $500,000 grant to do ditching.
Yeah, you're good, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
But one we're applying for is to try to do some.
Sam, it was working.
Yeah, I quit for some reason. But yeah, so ditching is a big one we're putting in for, both on your end of town, the main waterway going out to Highway 97. We need some ditching done because of the debris, and there's been beaver dams and stuff in there to try to get some of that water out quickly. Also, we just received here, I think it was about a month ago or the beginning of the month, a $500,000 grant for some manhole rehab in town. I think we're going to be able to do about 12 to 15 of them, and hopefully that'll stop some inflow of water and overwhelming the sewer line down there. And then we just put in for another grant, for a planning grant, to look at the front end of the sewer plant down on the sewer plant side of town, trying to get the water or the sewage to the plant quicker instead of backing up all the way to your end of town. So we do have some stuff going on, in the future, and hopefully we can get the grants to help help fund some of that is what we're doing.
Well, that's quite positive news I didn't know about. And what about this idea here? You know, I'm thinking, like, we have Vail running their line to Gilbert. And I happened to notice on the news today, the feds are reverting back to local governments and state governments to fund their own projects. Why can't Vail go on to their own septic or have their own sewer plant? And I'm thinking, at the same time, when you see in the weather forecast that there is a flood warning projected for this town in particular, because we live on a hill, why isn't there a dump valve out by 97 there where that whole pipeline could be diverted out, like say Sam's building a new ditch, so you don't have all that extra sewage coming in to town? And then after the storm, of course, you can revert it back to the city plant. But there has to be some way to relieve the pressure. And, you know, I was thinking of that.
We
Yeah,
do
Glenn?
have that, and we're restricted by MPCA on where we can do that. You know, and that's where MPCA governs how many dumps you can have a year or what you can put out. There's some stuff that if you do have a bypass and whatnot, there's protocols with that, especially if they spill into a lake or into, you know, water, drinking water or anything related to that. So we don't want that. We do have a bypass valve. We've used it. I think we were almost like 3 million gallons down the creek that night of that big storm. So
Well, that was a major event,
yeah,
yes.
but we gotta. Hopefully, that planning grant will help us figure out what's happening at our sewer plant to get the lines emptied out, and then, you know, Gilbert's an old city, right? There's a lot of I&I. It's infiltration of water is what it is, and trying to rehab manholes and old sewer line pipes that are clay tile and broken are a major issue. So,
Okay, well, thank you, Sam. Thank you. That was,
I would need to ask a question. Are we talking about your flood, storm sewer flooding,
yeah, the storm sewer.
or
flooded.
sewer or not, or sanitary?
Yeah, the sewer.
Sanitary
And that we had-
sewer on Nebraska Avenue
Yeah.
was flooded last year?
Yeah. See, and this is what bothers me the most, is the fact that we had the old plant, and then we had never a flood, then we piped in Vail, never had a flood, and then we converted over to a new plant, and then we're flooded. And so, to me, either that plant is under-designed for catastrophic events, or it was put on automatic to handle whatever load or flow is coming through at the time, which in turn,
No.
everything takes time to turn on. By that time, everything is late. So you have to have some quick relief, some dump. You know, that when I was in the flood, it was like going by the lagoon, and the lagoon is empty. An hour and a half later, then it started filling up. By that time, the damage is done. See what I'm saying? So is the plant is it under-designed for a 500-year-old storm? And if it is, then, well, I would sue the engineers for screwing the city over. You know, that to me is a problem, right there in a nutshell. Because the old plant handled everything. I don't care what kind of rain it had, and that was even without a lagoon. You built a lagoon, and then Vail never had a problem. So,
I'll have to correct a little bit of that, okay? The old plant had a lot of floods,
and then, well, I never knew.
and it had happened at the avenues way before, next to the plant.
Okay.
Those homes got backed up bad. We've had city crew down there unplugging basements for many, many times down there. We put backup, so it doesn't come back, valves in some of these homes down there. There's a few homes that we put these backup valves in when I was mayor 25-some years ago. And there was about 4 or 5 homes that got flooded down there, way before Sam. Okay, we try to fix that up. we did the sump pumps in Gilbert 3 years ago. That's gonna help the situation. This new plant is definitely designed wrong, definitely designed wrong. The lagoon is good, but we've been trying to fix this plant to run the way it's supposed to run, okay?
Okay.
Fail, we had Nebraska, and that area always gets, you guys get it all the time. There was a lady down on New York Avenue got flooded all the time. She's on another, New York at the end. What?
Same block.
Yeah, why is that? We gotta look into that. I thought Sherwood Forest, there was a bottleneck, and I thought we corrected that so it's all the same size. No? Not yet?
That's where the planning grant comes in, I'm hoping.
There's a bottleneck, it goes big, small, big. So, you know, I mean, just, holy
It's a restriction
smoly.
in the line.
And is that where all that solid comes from too? That area?
I don't know where that is.
I mean, solid, other than waste,
No, we don't know.
No.
I mean, as far as I know, it's just sand and debris coming through the line.
that main line from their plant to the end of town has been looked at many, many times and tried to be corrected, and apparently it's still not corrected, sir. Apparently it's not still corrected, and then we add to it and restrict it even more. It should have been a total separate line when they hooked up 20 years ago. I was against hooking up to that line. I wanted a separate line, 2 lines parallel each other to the plant, a little bridge across each other so they could help each other out, these 2 lines. Didn't get that. I didn't get that. I got voted on that, okay? But we got a problem, and then you make a more problem, and we still got problem. We got to look into it. We got to get that fixed,
All
okay?
right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And these sump pumps hopefully will help too. We don't need more water because we have a problem with the fix to get the water going. Yeah. Anybody else?
I think you guys all know me. I'm Leo Skirbick. I'm in the Water and Light Board, and that's what I want to address tonight. Now, at the work session, it was discussed, and you weren't here, Carl, to delay the contract for the residential garbage pickup. Now, my concern is to you is that you do have our recommendations in your packet, the Water and Light Board, and we recommended after a lot of research and long discussions, we recommended that the city go renew the contract. You set the time frame or whatever, but right now he's working without a contract, and that's up to you if you want to stall it or delay it 2 weeks. And then the discussion came up on look into more information for the containers, and I would just like to bring you up to update you on that. On, I believe it's ordinance 51.04 containers. Containers provided by the city. So if you're concerned about the containers for the citizens, right now it's up to the citizen to do it. That's why we got the bags. If you go mandatory containers, or if you change the ordinance, it's going to be a cost to the city. So rather than stalling, I feel the contractor is entitled to a contract ASAP. I met with the city attorney, I gave him the contract. The only changes that we recommended was the number of customers from 792 to 749 because our population is decreasing. Next year may go up, we don't know, we'll have to look. That's why the comment was made to, it should be reviewed once a year to see what the population is. And these numbers I got from the city clerk's numbers that I gave to you, the 792 and the 749. And my concern is the longer you stall it, the longer it costs the city approximately $1,200 a month more until you get a signed contract. Because under the old rules, and I don't blame him, and as a matter of fact, I would encourage him to keep it going because he's working under the old contract, which is $792. In a year's time, that's roughly about $14,800 difference. Then the other thing that I want to bring up to you so that you don't have to spend a lot of time researching, you can do it if you want to, but the reason for the orange bags was to supplement the 1550 residential charge that residents are paying now. And last year, the year of 2024, the city collected, I believe it was $14,800. I'm sorry, $16,800 on the bag sales, which supplements the tipping fee. Now this year, I just got my taxes, and the tipping fee was put on your tax statement. So that absolves the city from collecting the tipping fee. The net result is that the sooner you act, the better it is, and you can do what you want, but I'm just bringing it up to you that the longer you stall, the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost the city. So our recommendation was nothing more than just to sign a contract, the sooner the better. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Leo. Question, Councilor Skirvik?
Yeah, Mike, my understanding was we left the working session and you were gonna work on the contract with the city attorney and then bring it back to a work session so that we could discuss that, so that we could move forward. Was I wrong in that
Sure.
assessment?
It's so nebulous at this point that I couldn't tell you, but I'm comfortable with that. So that would be just fine. We have the contract in place, we're ready to sign it. We all talked about it, we looked at possible changes, but you had suggested some additions to it. I'm comfortable with that. Why don't we bring it to our next council meeting and get approval at that point?
I just wanted to be clear so
No,
that
I'm
the
real
audience
good with
understood that's what was supposed to be moving
Very
forward.
good.
We are not eliminating the orange bag, are we?
We had discussion about it.
The orange bag, well, it's a more fair fee per person. I mean, a widow, if you put a fixed rate on $10 for everybody for that tipping fee, she don't generate $10 worth of garbage a week, a month, versus a family of 4 or 5 probably put 4 or 5 white bags out there to be picked up. So we mark these bags somehow. That's where the color is. You buy the size you want for the amount of garbage you generate, and you put it out on the road for pickup. So you don't have one widow with $10 a week, one little bag out there, and a family of 5 with $10 a week and 6 bags out there of a different color. That is not fair. That's why we're marking these bags so just like electricity, you all pay the same electricity. Somebody doesn't pay more than another one. It depends on how much you use, generate, water, electricity, sewage, garbage. That's why you have the orange bag, is to be fair. It's not you're paying 65 cents or 70 for the bag. You're paying for what's in the bag to be buried. It's like a bottle of beer, you don't pay $3 for the glass. You pay $3 for the beer inside the glass. Because I've been here back and, well, we gotta get rid of these bags, It's the fairest way to handle that tipping thing.
Point of information, Mr. Mayor.
And he just,
So because you weren't here, and I feel that you need to know the information, we did have a conversation about a short term, which was the current contract, and a long term, which was to look at the issue of bags. Nothing was decided, and I think, speaking for myself and what I heard in campaigning, and certainly Councillor Horn has heard this as well, we heard a lot of discussion from constituents about the bag situation. And I think at least two of us have identified that it's an issue, but we don't have any solutions. And I suggested that we look at this as a separate issue than the current contract.
well, long ago, we thought everybody had their own single can. But we would buy them, but instead of a 300-gallon can, which all kinds of garbage in there, isn't fair to everybody. But it costs more money to have everybody have a can. You would need 2 or 3 garbage trucks to get all these cans picked up in town. You're tripling the problem, and it costs more money. This is the cheapest way to go and fairest way to go. And not get a slim, thin bag, get a decent bag so it doesn't break on you. But for cost-wise and fairness-wise, that was the route to go. And,
I have a garbage pickup person that lives just down the street from me, and I asked them, what would you charge me to pick up my garbage, if the city didn't do it? And he told me it's $30 for a 90-gallon container. Well, we're paid $15.50 plus bags. If you use 1 bag a month or whatever, that's $1.50 onto $15.50. So that's $17 compared to $30. So you guys, I think you're just wasting, I feel you're just wasting your time looking into this. It's been looked into previously. A lot of time was spent on deciding to go with what we have now, and it works great. So whatever. That's why I'd like to approve his contract for a 2-year contract. Why have him come back again?
I'm in favor of approving it myself, yes.
I thought in the discussion that we had in the workshop that we were going to approve the contract
Yeah.
tonight
Right.
with a couple of minor changes in it for the amount of people or whatever that was. And then they could look at it if they wanted to, but we're going to approve a contract for them.
I don't see a contract in our packet.
Yeah.
And I have not had an opportunity to see a
You
contract.
don't see it? It's in
And
there.
I will
It's
not
in there.
vote, I will not vote
It's
for a
in there.
contract I cannot see.
It's in the packet.
That was a letter of understanding, that's not a contract.
Yeah. That's just a synopsis of the 3 bullet
I
points.
absolutely will not vote for a contract I have not had a chance to review.
I understand that.
And this is,
Public input, come on up, we're still in public input here.
He's a rep. Yeah.
Jamie Gardner, I own East Mesabi Sanitation, and I don't think we need to have a huge discussion here, but I would like to just offer, like I do to all my cities, to come in and make a presentation about how garbage works on the range, the different models, the bin model, the bag model, and it's also just for the citizens to understand, just as Mayor Obersar presented, why many of our cities do bags. And I don't want to go through everything here, but the real point that East Mesabi Sanitation likes to make to our partners is that we are a partner. So we're happy to work with you, whether you need 1 year, 2 year, whatever is going to work. I heard all the discussions, and we're happy to. I have 2 things I'd like to point out. One is there's certainly citizens who are unhappy about paying for bag costs, oftentimes because they don't understand what Mayor Obersar presented. And I would also say there are many cities that use a bin model, i.e. private garbage person to the citizens, that often call me because they want us to come and do their garbage because they get complaints as well. So kind of goes both ways. The last thing I'd like to add just is why I think of myself as a partner. For example, with the city of Hoyt Lakes, we're looking at stickers now instead of colored bags. So that means somebody can use whatever bag they typically have. They don't need double bags. They have to buy the sticker. It's the same idea, so that somebody who puts out 1 bag every other week isn't getting charged for a 90-gallon bin or whatever. But so we're happy to help. We're happy to work with the city. I'm happy to come and present information on why the cities that we have evolved continue to do business with us. But I'll leave it at that. Just, let me know what we can do to help. Thanks.
Thank you.
Could I turn to the attorney and ask him if this letter of residence refuge contract renewal is valid to vote on?
If I may.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the full terms of all the contracts. That's, I think that's a summary of what changes on the agreement.
Given that it was discussed in our work session, and a couple of people would like to see it clarified a little bit, the terms, I can work on that with Brian as we talked about and bring it to our next meeting for approval.
Can we get it so we can finalize it at the next meeting?
Absolutely,
Is that doable,
absolutely.
sir?
I'd like to echo Counselor Skrebik's point, which I haven't seen this contract either. So I think I've communicated some things, I think I've heard some things, so I think to get it agreed, we would all have to look at it and agree. Because our costs, as they are quoted, have to do with the amount of time and money it takes to drive around your whole city. And so we take a fee and we divide it by the number of citizens. So I think that what was stated by the Water and Power Board, that you should see some savings, I agree with that. The extent of this, we have to look at. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we get that worked on so we can finalize something up or down at the next meeting? Everybody happy with that? Or consent?
Absolutely.
Okay,
So you're gonna continue working under your old contract until you get a new one?
We're not gonna leave you high
Yeah,
and dry.
okay,
State that, I think it's obvious. Maybe
Right.
We've been a good partner for 10 years,
yeah.
thank you.
probably 20 years, actually, I don't know.
Well, I think this all started in 1998 myself. I don't know about that. All right, any more public input? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on. Reports by mayor and council. Okay, Councilor Ponton, you have anything?
Nothing tonight.
Councilor Skrbik?
My only thing is, I attended this past week the League of Minnesota Cities Day at the Capitol. Had a good chance to chat with Senator Farnsworth, with Representative Warwas. Was able to highlight a couple of our projects, including the water treatment plant, our capital improvement projects. So it is on their radar. And just had a really good conversation with them to just kind of make sure that there is a connection between us and them. I think they are definitely willing to fight for money for us. So I think that's just, it was a good overall experience, and I was very pleased with it. So I found a lot of value in it.
Good. Good. Councilor Horn?
Yeah, I just actually have one thing for Sam. I know last council or the council before, we talked about the plow truck had some mechanical issues. Whatever happened to our new city dump truck, plow truck that was getting outfitted?
It's down actually at the dealer. It got done getting outfitted. The outfitter dropped it off at the dealer last week, at the end of the week, and now the dealer has to install some wiring harness that didn't get put in from the factory, and then either I'm gonna go get it or the dealer's gonna bring it up. I have to make it there. So I'm hoping to see it within the next couple weeks. So I know I do have to call back down there to see when they're gonna get at it or whatnot, but I'm hoping within the next 2-3 weeks we're gonna get it, so.
Okay. Do you remember roughly when that order was placed for that truck?
Tom Smith was just gotten mayor 2021,
October 2022.
22, yeah, that's what it was.
October,
Yeah, December and then October, or December and then when the first meeting, the mayor, Tom Smith, they had me order it at that meeting.
was during
so,
our budget for 2023.
Yeah, so.
Well, I look forward to seeing it arrive in town like when the fire truck arrived.
I'm going to make the suggestion that for the 3rd of July parade, it would be nice to have that not only in the parade, but also parked by the fire department so that people can see the vehicle that we purchased.
And then that is a normal 24 months is kind of a normal wait. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it's true.
Yep.
And I guess my concern with Sam is when we pick that up, that we go over it very carefully, because there have been a lot of weird things that have happened during its construction. I'd like to make sure that we're getting exactly what the
Make sure the
Public
spec
Works-
sheet
what
matches
the
the
Public
truck.
Works Department ordered, so
Yeah.
to speak. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Counselor Bertocci?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, I have a couple items. One easy one, I've been getting calls and people have been telling us that our sound system is not very good on TV again. I know Mediacom did some upgrade and I told them to set their remotes up higher, but when you turn the channel again, make sure you go back down. Otherwise you'll blow out your speaker on your TV. Mediacom did upgrade something with their, because once I bring mine up, it works fine. When it works, but if I'm over here talking with Mr. Horn and I'm not talking into this, it don't work at all. So I'm saying we should look into putting clip-ons so where it goes wherever we go. And that's where the breakup is, not in the system, actually, not in the Mediacom system, but because I'm leaving the microphone. Councilor Horn.
Question. How often are the batteries replaced in the wireless ones? Is that just an as needed, or is there a process?
There's not a normal maintenance schedule, but if you think that would be beneficial, we could have our IT guy look into that.
Okay.
You know, but it's on an as-needed basis, as I understand it, and they seem to work well for me. It's like playing in a band. If you're singing, you got to sing into the microphone. You can't go
Well,
walking all over the stage.
well, again, I don't know, we should look into cost anyway, of
Yeah.
what a Bluetooth situation might be.
Can we get, I don't know who else here besides Advanced Audio does it. I mean, we have Advanced Audio here in town, but
He can do it.
yeah, I mean,
He
I
can
think,
do it.
I don't know how old that system is. I looked in it and I didn't want to touch it, so, it's old.
I think he presented $800 once upon a time here, so, and we didn't take it up on it, so. We should look into it. I mean, you can just get a cost and get it voted up or down, I don't know. But I'm just saying the folks are having a trouble watching the
And if I may,
Yeah.
so in my past career, I've worked with a lot of stage microphones and things like that, working in communications, making sure that sound quality is good. I would be more than willing to work with the clerk to make sure that we have, an assessment of what we need. Because I do think that's very important. I listen to other council meetings too, and other towns seem to have theirs figured out, but we don't. And I think if we need to spend some money, I think it's money well spent, because residents need to be able to hear us.
Yeah. Any more discussion on that one? Okay. Also, I would like to get a meeting between the council and, or some folks on the council and the school together and see what's going on with that school property. I really believe the city of Gilbert needs to get that in their hands somehow. And let's talk about it, let's get something going, some discussions going, and see where we can go with that. Because we're gonna be, a lot of other communities that have school property are moving, and I don't know how fast they can be moved, but they got plans of doing some things, and I've got some plan, I spoke about it here a month ago, of different things that could be located up there, or other things. But I did mention some things that we should look into if we ever were able to get the property. Well, first of all, we gotta get the property. It's not beneficial to taking a chance or risk of somebody just putting one house up in that whole place up there. That's not good for Gilbert. And I'm not saying that we should give the gold bar for it either, but we need to talk and see if we can negotiate something reasonable. The taxpayer of Gilbert owns that property for how many years up there? And it should be, I think, given back to the taxpayer of Gilbert. So, I think the ownership is still with the taxpayer of Gilbert. So. And so, I'd like to get that going if we could. And council of a whole or council of a few.
Your two of you could meet with them at any time without any difficulty and bring that information back to the council. If you have a special meeting, you'll have to call a special meeting.
Yes.
So if you just have two of you,
Yes.
you're welcome to do that. It could be you, Carl, and maybe
Yeah.
Bob or Rudy or whoever, but
Yeah,
you can have that meeting anytime.
yeah.
I think I know the answer to this. Is it possible for us to have a meeting of two of us on the council and see if the school board will designate two people on the school board? So we can have two and two from each body meet without having a problem?
Sounds good. Attorney
I
Lindsay?
would like to volunteer to meet with you, Carl, as a partner from the council.
That's fine with me, yeah.
I met with the school along with Tom here, but, it's been well over a year. And the entire school board was there at that meeting, so I don't think there's a problem for them to meet whatever rules they have. They were all there, so.
I mean, they're subject to open meeting laws too, so.
Yeah, so maybe they had a special meeting called or whatever.
But anyway, I think we'd have the clerk set that up. Mike? Okay. All right, I know we don't have an audit yet for 2024, so we don't know where we're at, but I know, I don't know, SCH, I guess, left here. I'd like to at least explore some possible streets to do with assessment policy in place as well, not just grant, wait for 2 years for a grant again on that. That's not going to happen, I don't think. And but we got to look at to some streets. We just can't ignore these streets and alleys. We got to figure out a way to do them and pay for them, but not ignore them. We cannot waste a year or waste any time. People look into that. Plus, the blight. I don't know where we are with blight here. Ty, I mean, there's some condemned houses in town. I think 2 years ago, I thought we started a revolving of some condemnation of a few houses so they could be condemned and torn down. The neighbors should not be living next door to boarded homes.
Yes, we have three properties pending right now for condemnation on Main Street. One in the 700 block of Broadway Street South, one in the 100 block of Broadway Street South, and a third one that's just come up in the 100 block, actually within the 10 and 100 block of Broadway Street South. And then also with some blight stuff, we have one property which is, I'll just say it's by far the worst property we have in our community. That is set for 2 trials, I believe, in June. However, we're working on expediting that with having the council abate it. The property, I have no problems telling where it's at. It's New York Avenue East. It is by far, I won't even tell you the address because it sticks out so well. So if you take a ride by the 100 block of New York Avenue East on the even side of the street, you will see by far the worst property that we have in Gilbert. So those are the ones that we are concentrating
Worst
on right now.
property in America.
No, I can take you to a couple other communities that looks like war zones in some spots. So we're in better shape than a lot of communities are. So, but that one's by far our worst one. So.
Oh my gosh.
So
And then, like I said, with this, the one down there, we're in that kind of a holding pattern until I'll be bringing it for abatement, probably at the first April council meeting. Sam will have to wait because we will need to use a loader due to the size of the rocks that are on the property and stuff like that. So it'll be probably not quite a full day project, but it'll be a full project. It's, like I said, it's pretty unbelievable what's a mass down there. So, but we've had tickets paying the court system since, actually one in 2023, and we've got a court case from 2024, and we just forwarded another one for the same property, it was like March 1st. So there's 3 pending cases in court. However, the way the courts work, blight is not necessarily the priority of the court due to what they consider more pertinent issues, even though for our communities, this is one of the biggest important things for communities, and so it is frustrating at times, but it is in the process. Brian, I know, has a pretrial on one of them. I believe it's, for 2 of them, I believe in June. So things are
Okay,
backed
well,
up, so.
I needed that update on that, so.
Yep.
Did you mention Wisconsin Avenue at all, at 300 block, 400?
That'd be 400 block of Wisconsin, yes, but I'm very familiar with that property. That one was actually cleaned up, ordered by the court a year ago in exchange for dismissal. It was dismissed, and within 2 months, everything came back. So unfortunately, we get it cleaned up, and it's 3 months later, we're back in the same point. And,
I'm thinking about condemnation of a building, home,
okay.
300 block.
That would be Wisconsin. I know which one you're talking about. There was an individual that was in there for a very long period of time that was deceased. I'm very familiar with it, so, yep.
Very good. Thanks for the update. I think a lot of people are wondering what's going on, if we're just ignoring blight in town, or what. Now we got a little.
I have some comment on that.
Yes.
I know in the past, we've talked about in-house, taking care of it in-house, because as you've said, you've told me, it gets delayed in the courts. So we were going to bypass the courts and do it in-house. I believe by Wabick does that. So why did we move away from that?
That's what we're doing this spring with the New Jersey. That's going to be New York. That's going to be our test project, see how it goes.
Okay.
And if it's successful, then we'll push other properties on it, so.
Right.
So can you explain the difference between what, in-house doesn't mean anything to me? I'd like to know a little bit more.
So there's a process we can abate the property. That's where the council basically makes a decision on who's in violation. There's been councilors in the past that have not been comfortable with that because of potential, I don't want to say threats, but we try to keep you guys out of it as best we can, because when it comes to personal property, people are very passionate about it, and one person's trash is somebody else's treasure, I guess. And there have been instances where people become very aggressive towards the councilors that make the abatement thing. So we've tried to prevent that from happening, because it does cause more issues for you as councilors. I mean, I have no problem I got enough people yelling at me in my office. I try to prevent you guys from getting yelled at anymore. So I'm just going to tell you that when we do this, the process that we're trying, that there is issues with, and I don't want to go as far as threats. I hope we don't have that, but people get very upset about that. So we try to keep you out of that. Because when you abate the property, people get very upset about it, so.
How about from a legal risk to the city standpoint, Brian?
We take our chances, I guess.
Processes?
So there's a number of different processes, and I think, Counselor, I think you're exactly right. Each one comes with a little bit more risk. I think the chief is exactly right on his kind of assessment of what he's portrayed. There are safer processes that we can follow, the hazardous building processes and all those things. The problem is that those things do tend to get bogged down in courts and in the process of it. Whenever you go for a kind of a straight abatement where the city takes some action directly, you always run the risk that somebody's going to come in and say, well, this is actually an eminent domain and you've taken some of my personal property without compensating me. But there are due process provisions, and if we follow the rules closely enough, and very close, if you follow them exactly, there are options that are available. The other thing that I'll let the council know, just to kind of dovetail off of what the chief has indicated, I represent a number of cities, and I've been trying to work with the judicial branch to get kind of, we don't want to call it a blight court set up, but get some dedicated time on the court calendars where just these sorts of cases are occurring. The trouble that the chief indicated is something that's very real. If I've got a blight ticket that's on the court docket and it comes between two gross misdemeanor DWIs and a domestic assault, people don't really look at the blight and say, oh, there's a big issue. They say, well, we've got all these other more violent looking crimes that surround it. And you can't really appreciate blight until you're down in the community and you really see the effect that it has. So what we're trying to do is get some dedicated calendar time so that your blight citation comes up with 3 other blight citations, and you have either a judge or a magistrate who oversees it, who will follow those cases all the way through the criminal citations, through civil processes and all of it, so they can get some background. So there's a lot happening because blight's common through all communities and it's not going away, so.
So question, Brian. So when you condemn a property for any reason, does that go to St. Louis County, takes care of that, their attorneys?
Not necessarily. It would be, so condemnation is a word that has different meanings, or the meaning of it's not really clear. In the true sense of a condemnation, the city basically takes a piece of property away from somebody. What we're talking about is an abatement, and an abatement is where some condition is identified, and to abate it, the city is going to correct it. So we're not condemning a property, because condemnation actually is a physical taking of the title of the property, whereas the abatement is just correcting the condition that exists.
What I'm saying is condemning a property that is unusable to tear it down. Who handles that?
A lot of times, if it's the city taking the action, then the city is responsible for undertaking the cost. Although there are some grants and some programs that assist the cities in funding those. If it's a tax forfeit property, then it would be the county's responsibility because they manage it on behalf of the state.
Okay, thank you.
In an abatement, does that also include the removal of in an abatement, does that also include the removal of potential personal property? And I'm assuming there are very specific guidelines as to what we can do with that.
Right, and it would, but typically we wouldn't remove good usable property. It would be things that are blighted and probably causing problems within our neighborhoods.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the clarifications.
Any more talk on this? Well, thank you. Thank you for the update, and continue on with all that. We got to get Gilbert cleaned up. It's not fair to the neighbors, neighborhood, or city. What if everybody was to do that? Couldn't have that happen. Yes.
To put it in perspective, Mayor, every city struggles with this. Some hire legal firms that just specialize in getting rid of this thing. Even if that's the case, it can take a couple of years. So I'm glad they're trying something new, because it's a challenge for cities across the country, not just Gilbert.
Okay, on that abatement, we did that 2 years ago. So about 10 homes. How did that work?
Well, we're back in the same boat. You know, the issue is that when the city does that, they can let it reaccumulate, and there's no, we just have to go through the process again. We can't increase things. You can add $100 administrative fine. It doesn't really deter people. You know, the one issue we have, one issue we do have, you know, we have had, when the city's abated, like you said, by Wabick does do it, we generally have to have 1 or 2 police officers there to assist the city crew from cleaning, because we've been in some wrestling matches with some very unhappy people. So we have to protect the city workers too when they're on that property. So yeah, we are able to bill the city workers, not the police protection, for the abatement, so they can put that on the taxes. I think we have to send an invoice out, and if it's not paid in 30 days, then we can assess it to the taxes. So there are some options, but it has been an issue with, we have to always have at least 1 or 2 police officers, just because the city, just to protect city workers. So.
But once you have the officers there, even if the court decided that something has to be done? So either way, you need officers there, right?
No, so what usually happens with the court is they're allowed a certain amount of period of time. Sometimes they give 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to clean it up. If it is not cleaned up and it's ordered by the judge can hold them as a contempt under contempt, then the judge can put them in jail for up to 90 days, which they don't. But it's to motivate them to clean the property up. So the judge will not give us, I don't believe, the order to clean the property up ever. So it's to keep pushing the guy to clean it up, or the individual.
Okay, thank you.
We have had, actually, the city of Gilbert has had warrants out for folks that didn't follow through. So we have, on blight issues, the city has taken some folks into custody.
But the abatement, they come here at the podium and they tell the council, yeah,
The council basically acts as the judge.
yeah,
So as long as the council's willing to take that on, and like I said,
yeah.
you
They
know,
come before us and
we just try to give you a little balance. Because you have to understand, some of these people that we're dealing with are the people that, there's a reason why we use force on them at times, because they are, they're,
Own personal property rights.
yes, and they're citizens, but they're probably not our best citizens in some ways. I'll leave it at that.
very good, thank you. All right. Number 6, reports by staff, boards and commissions. We'll go to B, city attorney.
No official report.
Anybody on the council have questions for Brian? No. Chief of police, teacher? Anybody on the council have anything for Ty? Public Works Director, Sam?
I just have, I don't have much. One thing is, as we close the rec down for skating, we're taking ice out.
Here, just kind of spring cleanup stuff right now going on, and hopefully get the street sweeper out in about 2 weeks when it starts warming up overnight, and yeah, that's about all I have. Other than that,
Sam, are we, I know that we've done, like in the spring and in the fall, we've done the dumpster for folks. Do we have any idea on dates, or we're planning on doing that, or?
we really haven't done the dumpster in, I think, about a year and a half to 2 years. I don't think we did it last year at all. It might have been the previous year we did it. But it's up to council if they want to bring that dumpster back, or what, if they want to do it. I know we do the alley pickup stuff. That's usually sometime in the middle of May when we do that, so.
The dumpster 2 years ago had so much hazardous waste and like big objects thrown into it. Last council last year decided not to do it, and then they did the spring cleanup instead. So
And the spring
Cleanup is just grass and leaf debris, but yes,
dumpster,
we did do it.
and
It just,
it didn't go well.
Yeah.
The mess down there, but it's up to council if they want.
So I guess alternatively, because I know everybody does spring cleaning, and would it be something that we can do as to, maybe reminding the public through utility bills of like what methods of, even if it's just, here's the rates at the dump is, I feel like there are a lot of people that are trying to clean up their yards, trying to clean up their houses and all that kind of stuff. It's an annual process, everybody does it, and we all have stuff that we need to get rid of. Is there a way for us to be proactive and say, here, these are your options?
Last year, we had a pickup like that. We
Yeah.
kind of followed Mountain Irons, where you pay $10, the items are listed, which you can put on to be picked up, and I believe that went well, and everybody,
Yeah.
I didn't hear any complaints.
Yeah, I forgot we did do that.
last spring.
I think we only had 10 people sign up.
Right, because evidently there isn't that much of a demand. If there's a demand, you're gonna, contact the city to help you out.
If you wanted to run that again, I could look back and see what we did and have it for the council.
Okay.
Next meeting, and you guys can decide on whether you want to do it or not. Or if we want to wait till it's more.
Okay. And look, if there's any cost associated, that obviously would be helpful. Thank you.
I got a couple of things for you, Sam. This dumpster, I know people were violating the use of the dumpster down here. Elwood had the same dumpster. is that, they have the same issues that we had? Or,
Template dumpster is only available during working hours. It's behind the gate where, you know, the workers are, part of where the shop is. So once once they're done for the day, at 3:30, it's locked up, nobody can dump anything.
Yeah.
That's a spring cleanup that Evans does.
and that's how this was supposed to be too, locked up.
It wasn't locked up. I
It
had
wasn't, I
locked
know.
up from 4 to 3:30, council wanted it open all the time, so.
I don't know about
Open it
that.
all the time, and that's what we got.
Okay, and then I got, for the folks out there and on TV land, what is the issue on New York and Main Street and the street issue there? And Wisconsin and Summit.
Wisconsin, some of the top.
There's this big hill, big bump up there, I've heard.
Up on Wisconsin, I think I don't know if there's water leaking a little bit, where it's not bubbling up out of the ground. It's frost is what's making it. So there might be a little leak on a service or something like that, where it's not popping up. Main Street is, where the trench was dug for the water. You got the water line trench coming across the road. It's new fill, it's not compact, or it's compacted, but it's different than what's on each side of the trench. It takes the frost. If you drive down Main Street and look, everywhere there was a trench, it sags or whatnot. Not as bad as this one did, because we had a lot of frost this year, you know, compared to the last 2 previous years.
But it's been 3 years old in frost for the last 3 years. Why, on
We
this,
had more frost this year than we've had
Yeah,
in the last couple of years.
yeah. I
I
can,
think there was 7 feet of frost.
okay,
I can verify that. I was just at my property today, and there's a lot of evidence of a lot of frost this year.
well,
We had, with those cold temperatures in January and the wet ground, you know, we had a lot of warm weather in December. And with those cold temperatures in January, it drove that frost down, you know, so it moved a lot of stuff more.
so the difference is the third year, the frost is worse than the other 3 years.
That's what I would say. And
For-
I don't-
And not a break, not a water line break or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
Water is bubbling up. There's a water issue up, like I say, up on Summit. It hasn't bubbled up yet. It must be just like a mist that it's making it freeze and push up.
Well, the summit issue, I've noticed that several times too. Do you think that that's potentially at all related to, like, I mean, we just had a bunch of buildings that have been removed, and I know that there's a ton of springs up there.
It's one area, the water line's right on.
Okay, okay.
No, I don't know, like I say, I don't know if it's a service, or a corp that's leaking, or if it's just, you know, I've seen it where a lot of times rocks will, due to the vibrations in the pipes, rocks will just kind of twist and turn next to the pipe, and it wears a little hole in it. That's it, you know, and then just that little bit of spray will cause that moisture to keep freezing and freezing and freezing.
I guess, at what point do we have to fix these things? And
Yeah. My thought is.
what's it gonna cost?
Yeah, well,
You know, it's not hurting anything, and we'll wait till frost goes out and we will fix it, you know. But it's, you know, right now, if I had to get somebody to come in, we have to jackhammer up and down the pipe as the frost is. So it's not causing any issues up on Summit, it's not, you know, it's.
do we have to put a barrier up there?
No, it's fine. No, if water starts bubbling up, that takes out the frost, it's easier to do for us. And we'll fix it right away if that happens.
Okay, that explains everything, thank you.
So there's no warranty on that work because, you know, dips are always caused because of lack of compaction. And every dip out here, in my view, is a lack of compaction. So if it wasn't done properly, like I don't believe it was. That's why you get what you get, and it's gonna get progressively worse.
Yeah.
Those dips are gonna get worse each year.
Well, that's my,
The hard part on that too is they didn't, like all of our streets going up to the alley we did, all the water lines, all the sewer lines that went from the alley up, we all did a subcut down, and that usually helps that frost issue. They didn't do a subcut or anything on Main Street. They just dug the trenches, compacted it, and then, milled it basically. So, that was a cost savings to the state by not doing subcut, but, that's where it wasn't a total rebuild, it was just a, whatever you call it.
what I'm trying to get my head around is 21 and 20 and 21 they were put in. And nothing wrong with those years, 3-4 years in between, and all of a sudden now.
Well, they were there.
They've been, that
They were
dip's been there from year one.
Yep, they were there, you just didn't notice them.
I know a person that actually rolled that road, and he told me when he was rolling it, he could feel the dips.
Yeah, they were there. I knew where it was.
Well, okay.
Like I say, I informed the state about this bump here, called them up, Public Works Building, let them know they should put a sign there, it's pretty bad, but they didn't put a sign, the phone is still up there, so.
Okay.
I got one question for you. Arrowhead Transit, frozen water line.
Sewer line,
Is it a sewer line?
sewer line,
3 times?
yeah, the sewer line is pretty shallow, and it freezes up quite a bit there.
So it costs us $1,000 to,
Yeah, it's
3
about
times.
100 and something.
300.
300 time, yeah.
Anything can be done with it?
Yeah, there's one spot where actually the sewer is coming out of the ground there. I gotta put a culvert in it and then try to put some, styrofoam on the bottom side of it and on the top side of it. So then hopefully that's the spot, but yeah, I'm planning to do like this summer.
All right. Do we have a campground host
We do.
here?
No.
Okay.
Well, they will start here on May 1st. They're working on reservations and emails and the software as we speak. Paul had a meeting with them today. Randy's had multiple meetings with them. I have had multiple meetings with them, so everything is moving forward and coming together. It's a big transition. There's a steep learning curve, but we've had plenty of people assisting and
Yep.
getting to the finish line.
So, I think, I have nothing but great things to say for our new host. She's been great. But anytime you have transition, you have, a couple bumps. So we've tried to fix those as quickly as we can. So Randy has been great in doing stuff, and so.
Okay. Okay, we're going down to I. Mike,
I have nothing.
are you not gonna thank the church again?
No, I've got it, Carl.
Scratch it off.
Mike, were you gonna, there was the one issue that we took care of it? Okay, perfect.
All right, any old business? Lots of old business.
This evening.
Well, I have a question. I don't know where to put it or how to put it, but what's the status on, I'm sorry. The Water Light Board's concerns is what's the status of what Sam brought up at 505 Minnesota Avenue and the garage status? Permitting or whatever. Can somebody enlighten me what's happening there, or if anything?
I know nothing of what you're talking
Well,
about.
Sam, remember about a month ago you said to run the line down because they built a garage up there. It would be 10 inches away from the 2,300
That's
kilowatts.
515 Minnesota.
That's a real issue. Can somebody address me or tell me what's happening or what should be happening?
Me and Mike
Permitting what?
gotta meet with the homeowner here coming up and, and talk to them about it. I think, I did get a price from Minnesota Power, and Minnesota Power, I can't remember what the price was, maybe
I believe it was about $18,000.
something like that. And we're gonna, I don't know, we're gonna figure if he's, see what, if he'll pay for it, or if the city's gonna pay for it, we don't know. We'll go from
But that was not part of the well, it was part of the conversation, but one of the things that we brought up was, and I went up and drove up there immediately after that meeting, and that structure does not comply with our zone setbacks. That is not 10 feet from the alley. It's not even a close.
I don't know.
So where is the permit for that? That's the starting point.
Is that a new structure or old grandfathered in?
It's a new
Permit from several years ago that they finally moved forward with, way before your time, my time. And now we're left with a poor decision that was made by planning and zoning. And once he started building, I don't know if he had an original agreement to have more setback and to comply with our ordinances, or if he didn't, or if he just did what he wanted to do.
Okay, so we did find the permit then, because that was missing, we didn't know.
I don't know if there's a permit here. I would guess there is, but I would have to try to search it out. Reality is that that whole permitting process is lacking, and who knows where it's at, Paul.
You could have probably filed under, if you didn't get a okay in 60 days, it's automatically okay.
No. It came in front of the planning commission,
And they okayed it.
yes. That's my,
Yeah.
what I've found out,
Oh,
you know.
My only concern is, if I may address the council that way, that if nothing happens there, we're looking at a potential hazard, because if that second story goes up, it'll be like Sam said, about 10 inches away from a 2,300 kilowatt electric, you can reach over and you can zap. That just can't happen. I don't know how to resolve it, but something's gotta be changed there. It's a real problem for the city.
Right.
You've got to meet and resolve it somehow.
Like I say, I know when we were talking, if he's 10 feet away, he can build, he might be, just moving the front of that building in. Well, the front of it would stay there, but the second story would move.
Something, just so we're not liable, because it's a high line voltage, that's where our concern comes into it, and it's something that's got to be addressed and resolved.
Right.
We do have ordinances in place, though. And the reality is, when the electrical inspector comes out, he's never going to approve that
Yeah.
the way it is. So the owner needs to deal with it, but,
Right.
it's not something that I did, it's not something that you did, but we're stuck with it, and we'll have to address it.
But the thing is, if he got a permit, so he probably had a copy of the permit. So he should be able to show, if you guys go meet with them, what his permit allowed.
Right.
And planning and zoning is not gonna allow the setback to be, not followed. So I have an issue with him, even the lower part of the building being left there. We've had this issue before. We had a person tear down part of their building, and maybe that's what you'll have to do this time too. Or move the building back, add another slab and move the lumber building back, whatever. But you can't just not follow rules, and expect to get away with it.
I think the first step would just be a conversation with the homeowner and do a fact-finding mission, because right now we're just going on assumption.
Right. I would like to see, I'd like to
Yeah.
know the facts before making any kind of judgment or comment on it, so, I'd like to see a permit, I'd like to see any plans attached with it as part of the decision-making process before we even consider getting into the electric piece.
That's why it's so important to have a drawing with a permit, and all the setbacks are written on paper so you can see. And then they can follow it, and you can see if they're followed. But I know our permitting process isn't the best, and it's been like that for many years, not the best. It's just willy-nilly kind of stuff, I don't know.
As you say, Bob,
somebody built a two-story garage in this town and had to take the second story off because
Yeah.
they didn't follow the rules.
Right,
This could be that situation. I don't know.
yeah.
Wait before my time, but we'll look into it and we'll see what we can figure out.
Yeah.
Something has to happen.
And that's why, before they were allowing the planning and zoning to approve permits and not even dealing with the council, here's an example of how that works. The council has to review those permits too, and one council member may be able to pick something up out of it before it's finally approved. This is just what I've learned over the years. You can't kind of count on your planning and zoning members to do what I think they're supposed to do.
Well, each permit that's been granted since I came here has gone in front of the council.
Yes, and that should continue always.
Well, that's under old business. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. New business. We have, I think, we already just did letter A. Okay, we have first reading of ordinance 3120 and ordinance 31.25. Clerk, can you read those out?
The reading on that, Mayor, is taken care of because it's in the packet and it's a publicly published document. We don't have to physically, the reading doesn't mean read it out. It means that it's in this packet. So I went over that with Attorney Lindsay before the meeting to make sure, so that's where we're at. It'll be in our next packet too. That will be the second reading.
Mayor, if I may, the clerk's verbiage is correct. So the way we refer to it as a reading is like a parliamentary term. What the requirement is that the language has to be publicly available, that anybody who wishes to read it may read it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we physically or verbally have to read the entire thing word for word.
I don't know what our process has been in the past, but is it possible, I know we've got it in the packet and people are able to get it, but for transparency purposes, can we have these posted to the bulletin boards so that people can come up to the thing and at least read them at leisure?
Sure. I can physically read it to you now if you'd like.
Nope, I know what it says.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that people in town have an opportunity to have a physical place where they can go see it.
I will post them.
Thank you.
All right, we have the first and reading of 31.20 and 31.25. D, what's establishment of committees and appointments, what's that?
Well, we've been kicking that can down the road now for 3 or 4 meetings, and basically what all we're looking for, and we discussed it with Attorney Lindsay at our planning session, is to have a process in place, whether it's a council member or whoever, or 2 council members that say, we would like to work on this issue and gather information for the city and bring it back to the council for discussion. We want to make sure that we empower these people to do that and that they're not coloring outside the lines of their responsibilities. That doesn't, so if they were to investigate something at the park or something with the garbage service or something with utility billing, they would have the authority to do that, but they wouldn't have they would be only recommending and bringing their things back to the council. So occasionally, if 2 council members are looking into something, they might deal with another government agency. And we don't want them to be in there without having the council having knowledge of their activities and who they would be talking to. So at some point in time, you have to decide how you want to deal with that. And that's where we're at. We've been moving it down the road. I don't care how we handle it, but we are already seeing people occasionally look into an issue. I just don't want to see anybody step on anyone's toes or have anybody feel that there's not the transparency of what's going on here. So I don't know how you want to handle that. it's open for discussion by the council and our attorneys here to give you guidance to make sure that we do that properly. So that's what we're talking about.
You're talking about, I think everybody has the right to go individually and do their job. I mean, go see somebody, a congressman or a business or whatever, and then, but not promise anything from the city, but go talk with anybody they want. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, so.
I'm in total agreement, Mayor, but my issue, and it's not my issue, but the perception could be that if Paul goes and talks to a congressman and Rudy talks to him and I talk to him, we're not speaking with one voice. And so occasionally, when we get into some of these discussions, it would be good to know that, you know, a couple of the council members say, hey, we'd like to work on this garbage thing, or we'd like to work on this
Okay.
other thing, that we have a platform to do that with so no one's offended. Because if two council members went to a neighboring community and said, hey, we'd like to consider talking about a joint powers agreement with you to share a street sweeper, you know, that's okay for them to do that, but they really don't have the council's authority or an understanding of what they're up to. And that's, it's just trying to make sure nobody gets upset if somebody's out talking about an issue and gathering information. Go ahead, Paul.
I agree with that. So I'm concerned that whether we're pick an issue X, and let's say it's you and I, we're going to go investigate. We should, as part of process, we should establish an ad hoc committee that names you and I, and the issue that we're going to be addressing, fact finding, and the implication is that we bring that back to the council. Yeah. Where this is important for us, and it's important for all of us to understand individually as counselors, is that if we have 3 individual counselors going and talking about an issue to an entity, that could be construed as a violation of open meeting law. And we don't want any of that. I certainly don't want any of that. So, and I think Attorney Lindsay would probably agree with that could be a serial meeting or, you know, a lot of different other combinations of it. And we just don't want that to happen.
I've never had that issue. I mean, sure, no 3, but 2. We've always brought it up at a council meeting. The mayor appointed 2 people from the council to go do whatever, and then this new ordinance, if it gets voted on, then the council can bring it up where 2. It's never been that 2 went on their own, but we all have a right to go as an individual. But we've always sent 2 by the council here, voting on okaying the mayor's appointment to have so-and-so go look at this, these 2 people work on this, or even negotiate this and bring it back. It's always been passed up here, given authorization. But
I agree with that process, because then nobody steps on anybody's toes, everybody has an understanding of what's going on, and then we speak more as one voice, then all of a sudden 2, 3 people are talking to somebody. So I don't know that it requires a big formal thing, but it's been discussed and nobody's come up with a suggestion or solution yet, so we can wait until.
I hope that will continue.
Whenever.
It's always been when I've been up here, it's always been, if we're gonna, we got an issue, we would appoint these people to go for the.
How would you like to start the ball rolling then?
We'll continue as they're going, we'll keep going, and it's always been that way, that I've been sitting on this chair. But I still, each one of you have a right to go do your own thing. Absolutely.
I like in pairs, because you go to someone, you don't hear them right or something, and they said something, and then it turns out to be a lawsuit. Well, you said this, oh, no, you didn't. But if you have 2 people there, you have a witness.
No.
That's why everything should be done in pairs, because then you don't have those problems. because then you say, well, we heard it this way, you know, and I think it just makes it a lot easier for people to get information with the blessing of the council. We're here representing the council. We want to ask you these questions because the council approved us to come and do it, and that's what I'm looking for personally. I don't want to go by myself and start asking questions and say, who the hell are you? You know, who gave you the right to come and ask me that question? And I can say the council with my partner, so we both hear the same thing.
Well, you could make a motion to this council that we're gonna have to, if you wanna go in pairs.
I prefer it because I've come into these situations where somebody says something about me that is totally untrue. So if you have a witness, it's a lot easier to spell out the
You
untruth.
can have a consensus of this council, or you can make a motion to that effect.
So, in my opinion, I feel like there should be certain levels. Like if I just want to find out more details about something simple, like I'm not making any decisions, I'm not doing anything like that, I should be able to just go and gather information without having to get permission, schedule time with a buddy, schedule time with the person. But if we're looking to solve an issue where we need a bunch of information, we need to make a decision, absolutely, like there should definitely be groups. But I don't want to be afraid to go and ask, you know, Ty some information about something going on because I don't have a buddy with me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm referring.
And I think each of us has a responsibility too, to our constituents, to like, I get questions asked of me, like, why is this happening, or I've noticed this, and my first response is, you know, if I don't know who to direct it to in the staff, is I'll find out and I'll get back to you. And so in the process of finding out, you know, what's going on, I need to talk to Ty, or I need to talk to Sam, or I need to talk to Mike, or what, you know, I think that's part of our job description, you know.
Right.
But then if it's a deeper issue, like, let's figure out, like, you know, what we're gonna do with, what the options are for garbage. That, I think, is where we as a council recognize there's more in-depth investigation and numbers that we have to gather, and, you know, and I think that would be more of an ad hoc committee that we all would actually vote and say, yep, we agree that we should all have that, and here's the 2 people that are gonna do that.
Just like asking the school, okay, you got 2 people, and we make a motion, we approve that you 2 guys represent us, talks with the school. This is what I'm talking about.
You're right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's better to have 2 than just one person.
Because
going
then,
down
Well,
the
in that
street.
in that
situation,
There you
example,
go,
then
yeah. So what I'm trying
presumably,
to get through is that process.
presumably in that
Yeah.
situation, the whole council has all raised their hands and said, yep, these are our designates.
Mayor, if I may, I think through the conversation, that as I've kind of listened to the conversation, I think the council's exactly right. The formality that needs to occur depends on how you're approaching folks or businesses or whomever. So I agree with the statement that every individual council member has the ability to go out and collect information. It's how you present yourself when you do that. If I go down to a business because I want to find out some information, the council member should say, hi, I'm Joe Smith, and I'd like to ask some questions. If you're gonna go down and say, I'm here on behalf of the city, or I'm here for the city,
Yeah.
then it has to be approved, and there has to be some scopes and limits put on it.
The key word is behalf.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. But if you say I'm counselor or mayor so-and-so, from so-and-so city, I want some questions I got.
I'm
I'd like to
personally
answer.
looking for this information
Yeah.
versus
I'm
I'm
not-
here on behalf of the city.
No, you don't say that part. Yeah.
That's what,
Yeah.
the distinction
Yeah.
between the two.
So I think we should make a motion for individuals be able to do that, like Dylan said, and put together a group or a pair for more in-depth research on different
By
items.
appointment of the mayor, or if that other ordinance gets voted on by ordinance so-and-so. You know, that's gonna change everything, that other ordinance.
Correct.
Everybody on the council can vote for 5 different people, or 5 different groups. You're gonna vote on 5 different times, maybe. Could be.
But we don't have the
potential.
ordinance yet.
Well, yeah.
We'll
Or,
just-
yeah.
Business as usual
But-
as of right now.
You wanna make that motion?
I'll make the motion. Then we can have a pair to do research on stuff to bring back to the council. Or if an individual wants to go and ask a specific question of something that they need,
Appointed through that whatever ordinance,
Through charter means.
same number but remodified, whatever,
Amended.
or kept the same,
Amended.
whatever, so. It might stay the
How would you
same or it
state
might
that?
be.
I think maybe perhaps the motion could be that we would want to clarify as the move to create a city policy indicating that before any member of the council can approach, can gather information representing that they're on behalf of the city, that has to be approved by the council. And that's a long and terrible motion. It could just be a motion to develop a more formal policy for authorizing council members to formally explore information.
So we're saying, Rudy, you're making a motion to have Brian put something together for us?
no, I'm making a motion to say that I haven't been at the water plant for 7 years. I need information on it. It's better for me to go down there with somebody else because they might understand it more than I understand it. And the information we get then can be brought to the council, like for how much I&I flows in there, how much flow we get, and all that kind of stuff. I might not remember everything said, they might remember something said also. But I also want the ability to say, okay, go up to Sam and say, Sam, what's the worst piece of equipment that you have in town right now? You know, that's something very simple.
I think we understand what we're talking about, all of us here. We got the right concept here going in our head. So you wanna make a motion
I want to make a motion to go with a pair and have the city council.
only with a
blessing
pair?
it.
You don't have, you can't go
Or
to,
singly.
I mean, you can't go to sewer plant and ask questions on your own?
You don't need a motion to do the single thing, because
Yeah.
we legally can do that.
Yeah, right.
So,
I need a motion to.
But if
go
you're
to
going for,
pairs.
if you're gonna go as a duo, you wanna, then the council should appoint some people, a duo. That's what, singly you can go, but if you wanna go as a pair, you gotta get an authorization.
Then you have the blessing of the council
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
And you're not going down there just to be
Yeah,
harassed or something
Yeah.
like that.
And they accuse you of that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be accused of anything, because now you have a witness
Yeah.
that, no, that's not how
Okay.
it was told to us. And
Okay.
I'm telling you, it comes up.
anybody wanna support that motion?
can we clarify what it is again? My understanding is the crux of it is when we are going on behalf of the council, we're in pairs. If we're going just to get information, we can go single. Is that
There you go. yeah.
Well,
correct?
well, we're also
Depending on the
getting
information.
information as the pairs,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah, that's what the crux of it is, yeah.
yeah.
Well, perhaps the motion could be that the policy, the motion would be move that the city policy be that in order for information to be gathered on behalf of the city.
Has to
it
be
would
by
require a
appointment,
pair.
by appointment of the
Yeah, it
council.
would be by authorization and in a pair. Otherwise, then it's clear that if you're not in a pair with authorization of council, then it's an individual action and you're not on behalf of the city form.
There you go.
So,
Got it.
so when you two go to see the school, we have to give you the approval now. We want you two to represent us to go ahead and talk to the school. And we'll vote on it, and then you have the approval of the council to go ahead and talk to them.
Yeah,
And then you bring the report back.
And bring the report back, yeah.
But that means that you can go gather information.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can negotiate
No,
on behalf of
Right.
the
no,
council.
no,
Right,
no.
yeah.
We don't want,
We get into negotiations, the full council
Fact-finding.
should be involved.
Just fact-finding.
Yeah. Somebody want to second Rudy's motion?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All right, any more discussion on that? Have you got that, Mike?
Mike,
All
how are
clear
you
up?
capturing that?
I put that, we need a motion that when somebody goes on behalf of the council in pairs, that they get authorization from the council to do that.
Yeah, And then singly also, as part of the
No,
motion?
I think-
That was, we already have that right.
Yeah,
Okay.
singly, that's,
Okay.
I think, implied in our jobs.
Okay,
So we would have to ask the council, in other words, if we wanted to go find out about the water plant.
No, you can go on your own, but if you wanna, on behalf of the council, you gotta have a pair authorized by the council,
yeah.
if you're
So-
going in a pair.
And it really comes down, it's semantics, but it comes down to, if you go and talk to another city, or you go talk to
Yes.
another agency, that you say, if you're saying, I'm here on behalf of the city of Gilbert, we are here to investigate this and gather information for the council,
Gotta get
that you
out
have the authorization to do that,
Yep.
so that you
Also-
can make that statement.
But locally,
No, I don't care
see exactly
where you
where you're
go.
going.
Yeah.
So there's a distinction between, I, Paul, would like to have a tour of the water treatment plant to learn about the process. That's one thing. I think that's permissible. It's different to say, I, Paul, am going in, and Sam, what is going on? We need to figure out the problems here so that we can present it back to the council. That's different. That is
Oh, I think
what
that's
would say.
okay too.
Well, I mean, I think
But I'm
in that
saying,
case, Sam,
if you're
Sam would
going,
probably present.
two of us
it.
are going, then we need authorization of the council, that's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
blessing of the council.
Yeah. But if you're going by yourself, you can do all that you said there, except, you know,
But hopefully you don't get in trouble because you're by yourself and you have somebody that,
But you may
Yeah,
want to proceed with
truthful.
caution.
but if
I-
you're
I
gonna
also
take
wanna
somebody,
be-
like, one of us with you, then we need, the council needs to be aware of it by getting their blessing from them, so.
yeah.
I also would want to be, a little bit respectful of, use of city time and assets. I wouldn't want to have each one of us go down and say, Sam, I want a tour of the water plant, because that's not a very good use of Sam's time. Maybe in that case, if we all feel that that needs to happen, then that would be a case of, hey, we want to have this tour, Sam gives it, et cetera, right? We shouldn't all be going to each department head and using up their time.
Or else you go down to Trudy and ask her how many gallons are run through this plant a day on average. So then you're just gathering information. And that's what it's all about, just gathering information to bring back to the council.
Correct.
And then you say, well, we got an I&I problem. We found out there's so many gallons going through and we're pumping this many gallons of water. There's extra water coming from somewhere. So we find out those things, we report it to the council, and then we act on it.
You can do that.
Well, we're
on-
gathering information.
You can do that on your own.
You can do it singly, but I'd like to work in pairs because I've,
But if you
I've
wanna
had
go,
problems with
if you wanna
single.
go as a pair, you gotta ask
yes.
for the
Yeah,
appointment.
yeah, ask for the
Yep,
council,
yep, yep, right,
Okay, I think I'm clear on the motion.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Counselor Ponton, Skirvik, Vrtajnik, and Mayor Oberstar voting yes. Counselor Horn voting no.
Okay, now I'd like to bring up, on that note, I'd like for Rudy and I to look into, gather information on the police, on looking into the Evelyn Police, possible sheriff, or going it alone here in the city. So now we're just on a fact-finding information here, and we're gonna report back to the city what we find, and that's all we're asking, for the blessing of the council to go ahead and do that. So that means going ahead and talk to Evelyn, or go ahead and talk to the sheriff's department, whatever. So that gives us permission to do that. That's what we're asking. And I think, Rudy, you agree with me that you would like to be on that committee or whatever term we're using to describe it?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I can second that. If you made a motion for that.
Okay.
Well, I guess I kind of made a motion, but not in a motion form. I'm making the motion that Rudy and I look into the cost of going with Evelyn Sheriff's or going it alone here in Gilbert.
Moved by
That's the
Council-
motion.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes, go ahead.
Moved
That
by
you
Coun-
look into public safety or police department options. That gives you a broad.
Okay, yeah, you phrase it that way. public safety options, and that'd be part of the motion.
And then I
Right.
would second that.
Okay, all right.
Moved by Counselor Ponton, supported by Counselor Skirbeck to approve Counselor Ponton and Counselor Vrtajnik going ahead and exploring public safety options for the city of Gilbert. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
To that end, I'd like to clarify the motion, or make a motion for myself and Mayor Oberstar to have conversations with the school board to see if we can get 2 people from the school board to discuss the school property.
Do I hear a second to Counselor Skirbeck's motion?
I'll second that.
Second by Counselor Horn. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, moved by Counselor Skirbeck, supported by Counselor Horn to allow Counselor Skirbeck, Mayor Oberstar to talk with school board representatives on the school property issue. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
So one more. I don't know if we need this because Counselor Horn and I already met with Ty this morning to talk about the ATV issues that we previously talked about in our last meeting, to have conversations about the trails through town and stuff.
Then we agreed that, we all made that
Yep.
motion last
We
time.
had, I don't know if we formally,
Yeah, yeah.
did we?
Yeah.
Okay, then, because I thought that was one of the,
No, I pointed you guys to do that.
okay.
Yeah,
Well, we have done that, so we will be making recommendations soon.
okay.
Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
So in the future, when we want to go and look into something, we'll bring it to the council first, get their approval, and then we'll act on it.
If you want to go in pairs, yeah.
Yes, if we want to go in pairs.
All right, we're done with that one. Okay. Civic System Software Purchase Agreement.
We discussed this in the work session. We're gonna just table this until we get a proposal and a presentation put together from Civic Systems. Dylan's gonna sit in on that with Randy and Hannah, and we'll get some information to bring back to the council.
Okay. All right, Cemetery Board, first of all, we need to take the addition, the resignation of Bob Kivola on the table first.
Do we need a motion? to
Yes.
Table the civic systems?
No.
No.
Okay.
I motion to accept the resignation of Robert A. Cavella from the cemetery
Kibble.
board. Cavella.
Moved by Counselor Horn, there's support on that.
I'll second.
Second by Counselor Skirbeck to approve the resignation of Bob Kivola from the Cemetery Board. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Did you second that, Paul?
Yes.
That's done. Now that leaves a vacancy on that board, and there's 2 people that applied, and,
Relating to that, before you,
what?
and before anybody makes a motion for the 2 people who applied, I think there is the potential to have an issue, because I believe you're supposed to be a voting member of the community and live in the community to be on the cemetery board. And I didn't review the applications, but as you move forward with this, please keep that in mind.
Thank you to clarify that. So when we changed the charter, in order to serve on a commission or a board, you must be a qualified elector, meaning you must be a voting individual in the city.
These, Bob Dante lives in Gilbert, no? It said on an
He
application.
lives in Hutter.
Huh?
That's an address for Hutter. He's got Gilbert mail, that's all, but he lives in Hutter. He's not a member. He's not in the city limits of Gilbert.
Okay, well, verses 5 point, whatever that ordinance is, I point Anton Udovich then to the board.
I'll second that.
No, I didn't make a motion, but I'm making an appointment, somebody gotta make a motion. I'm gonna step out my chair, I could, but I'm not gonna, then I have, Rudy have to run.
I'll make the motion to appoint Anton Udovich to the cemetery board.
I'll second that.
Moved by Counselor Vrtajek, supported by Counselor Condon to appoint the mayor's approve the mayor's appointment of Anton Udovich to the cemetery board. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Okay,
Just one thing on Mr. Nanty, he's welcome to come and help, volunteer to do work up there. He just can't be on the board.
yeah,
that's all.
right, okay.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I didn't know he was on. All right, we got resolution number 2025-06 and 2025-07. And I'll read these off because we're going to accept these donations. And the council, this is, for explanation, this is again the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation, which is the library, Gilbert Library Foundation is part of it. And there was 3 funds, the Gifford Fund, the Russo Fund, and the Gilbert Library Foundation Fund. And the Gilbert Library Foundation Fund is the balance of the Gifford Fund. Gifford Fund was Mrs. Gifford gave Gilbert $50,000, challenged the Gilbert to match that, and they did 25 years ago. And $100,000 in a trust fund with the Minnesota Foundation. And that Gifford Fund was run by the Gilbert Library Foundation, which is part of the St. Paul, Minnesota Foundation. And that fund was, of $100,000, was given over to the Minnesota Foundation, that all the interest made in that $100,000 gets sent to the Gilbert Library, to the city, which is the physical agent. And this is the interest for the year 2024, I believe, that fund that goes directly to the library. And the other one is the Russo Fund, which I don't know what they got in there. That also was given over to the, automatically out of the hands of the Gilbert Library Foundation into the hands of the Gilbert Library Board. That's the interest out of that fund. And those 2 checks automatically come here and go over there. Now, the other one that we did last time, we cut them randomly, whatever as
It came
needed.
from the same foundation, and your explanation is appreciated, Carl, because what I believe is that when that money came in, they established an endowment.
No.
And that endowment's being run by the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. The dividends or interest are coming back to the library.
Right.
So these are 2 additional checks that just came in, just making sure, because if we accept money, we need to do it by resolution.
Right.
So that's why they're up on the
They
table
were created
tonight.
long ago with $100,000 and then whatever's in
Yep.
that Russo Fund. They're untouchable. St. Paul handles them all, and that interest automatically comes to Gilbert to give to them. That's a disadvantage, though, for the library sometimes. When they come here in October and asking for $120,000, oh, well, no, you can't do that, they can't do that.
Yeah.
And so, thank God there's a statute that there's a minimum you have to give them, because the thought up here is, well, they're gonna get $8,000 from Gifford and Russo anyway, so they're gonna get their $110,000 anyway, but a different way. So it's a disadvantage sometimes. This is supposed to be above and beyond whatever Gilbert gives them.
And that number, that $124,000, It was in the budget that we give to the library. That's established by state mandate.
103.
Yeah, I think it was 124 this year, Carl, but I could
Was
be
that,
wrong.
well, that's.
No, mandatory is 103,
Okay,
500.
whatever it was this year.
Yeah.
That's
there's-
established,
That's the
that's set by
mandatory.
it's set by the state, and that's
Right.
what we work with.
Right.
Thank you.
Again, but sometimes they come with a budget of 120 and get turned down because everybody knows they're gonna get some extra money anyway from these funds. So it's not so much a good thing, really. But they still get their money. Yeah. Okay. And this was, I was president when we did these two here, these two funds. And I resigned in 2013, but in 1993, I was president of this thing, from 1993 to 2013. Anyways.
So how much interest are we getting between the two? How much is it?
I had them 6,000 and, what is the other one?
7308,
It's 7,600.
$7,309 both.
Total?
And then you had another one earlier at our
Oh,
previous
from-
meeting.
Yeah, the other meeting, yeah. Okay, so these
Yeah.
two are 7309. Okay.
So I've got to read these because we have to accept these, just like if I want to give you $100, we got to accept $100. Which I have done in the past because, let's say the graduation committee comes here and wants us to donate money to their graduation night. We can't do that. So I made a check out for $100, gave it to the city, and I got a okay, and we have to okay that acceptance of my $100 anonymously though, until now. All right. The City of Gilbert, resolution number 2025-06, resolution accepting donations. Whereas the City of Gilbert is generally authorized to accept donations of real and personal property pursuant to Minnesota statute section 465.03 for the benefit of its citizens, and whereas the following persons and entities have offered to contribute the cash amounts set forth below to the city. Name of the donor is St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. Donation to the library of $6,207.71. Whereas the city council finds that it is appropriate to accept the donations offered, now therefore be it resolved by the city council of the city of Gilbert of Minnesota as follows. 1, the donation described above is accepted by the Gilbert Library, Public Library. 2, the city clerk is hereby directed to issue a receipt to the donor acknowledging the city's receipt of the donor's donation contribution, and it's been adopted by the city council on March 11, 2025. Anybody want to make a motion on this one?
I'll move.
I second.
Moved by Councilor Skirvik, supported by Councilor Horn to approve resolution number 2025-06. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Okay, resolution number 2025-07. City of Gilbert, resolution accepting donations. Whereas the City of Gilbert is generally authorized to accept donations of real and personal property pursuant to Minnesota statute section 465.03 for the benefit of its citizens, and whereas the following persons and entities have offered to contribute the cash amounts set forth below to the city. The name of the donor is St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. To the donation to the library of $1,301.57. And whereas the city council finds that it is appropriate to accept the donations offered, now therefore be resolved by the city council of Gilbert, Minnesota as follows. 1, the donation described above is accepted for the Gilbert Public Library. 2, the city clerk is hereby directed to issue a receipt to the donor acknowledging the city's receipt of the donor's contribution. This has been adopted by the City Council of the City of Gilbert on March 11, 2025. So make a motion to that.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Moved by Counselor Skirvik, supported by Counselor Horn. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, I noticed somebody else missing another one, addition. No? Okay, any other loose ends here? Motion to adjourn is in order.
I move to adjourn.
I second.
Moved by Counselor Horn, supported by Counselor Bertocci to adjourn at 8:22. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Good night.